Okay, so look, I want to talk about how I cured my burnout with CS because I made a video before about how burnout's real, and I think I finally cured it now. If you haven't watched this video, if you're experiencing burnout, if you haven't watched this healthy gamer video called "You're Burnt Out Already" and you don't even know it, go watch that shit, bro. But burnout is like a case by case thing, and there's like individual contributions, and then there's also contributions from like the workplace and stuff. And so when it came to my case, I'm just gonna talk about what I realized for myself, and maybe this can benefit some people if they're experiencing the same thing when it comes to burnout with Counter-Strike. But there's like 6 factors that contribute to burnout. So I think it's like the 6 factors to burnout. Watch. The first factor is workload, right? And that's just like how much work you have. But there's also, you can be contributing to this too, just like by taking on too much work, you know? Control, if you have like control in the situation in your workplace. Reward, so like what you get for the work you put in. The community, fairness, and then values. And for me, what was causing my burnout with Counter-Strike was workload and fairness. Those are the biggest 2 ones. And it's the fairness one is weird as fuck for me. But starting with workload, I realized that I was just taking on too much work when it came to like, you know, practicing my aim, you know, scrimming, demo notes, and like watching demos, taking notes, reviewing, practicing nades, like all that shit. I was taking on too much work because I was doing that with like a YouTube channel, and pretty much everything in my life was just work. I was working out, you know, I go to my job, like everything I did was just work. And I realized that the reason why I was doing all these work things is because it was rooted in a deep insecurity of not feeling worthy like enough. So I'm like, I had to go pro, dude. Like I had to grind this shit and go pro, because if not, then I'm not like, I'm a shit person, you know? And that's what I came to the realization to myself. And the crazy thing about it is that like accepting the fact that you might not go pro and that there's nothing, like you have value even if I don't go pro, like helps you go pro, because it takes that like fucking stress off it, you know what I'm saying? Like instead of like playing this game with a need for it to be successful, I'm now playing because I enjoy it, if that makes sense. And when you play something and you do something that you enjoy versus doing it out of necessity, you're gonna have so much more efficiency and like potency when you work. Like you're just gonna be about it, dude. Like you have the emotional drive behind it, and like just coming to terms that like, bro, I'm like more than just Counter-Strike. Like, it's such a weird thing to say, but that's what happened in my case, is that like I became so obsessed with this shit. Like I just want to go pro so bad, and it was rooted in insecurity. I still want to go pro just as bad, but now it's not rooted in insecurity no more. It's rooted in like an abundance mindset. Like I enjoy the shit. I enjoy life. Like all the shit's going good. Like it was just a quick switch in my brain to like help ease the workload. So now I can like skip a day of aim training because I realize that like it's really not gonna affect me in the long run. Like I'm gonna be fine either way. Like you gotta realize you have to have faith in yourself when you grind towards things like this, that like you're gonna achieve it even when you take breaks. And those breaks ironically are what make you play better, dude. Like that video I'm gonna post about like, you know, people who think about CS too much, like the CS nerds like me, like how I was, and how that actually fucks you up. Like you need to take rest from it because you come back with a different perspective and a stronger mind. Being able to like address my insecurities allows me to rest and relax and not take on as much of work, because before I was taking on a bunch of work because I needed to, because I didn't feel worthy. So that helped, that got rid of the workload portion of my burnout. The other portion of my burnout was an ego thing. When it came to unfairness, it actually was rooted deeply in my ego. So it actually ties into the workload as well. What I realized I was doing was I'm putting in all this work trying to go pro, you know what I'm saying? Aim training, demo notes, reviewing, nade reviewing, like just practicing hours and hours a day, doing a YouTube channel, you know, running team practice and all this shit, bro. Like building a strat book, all this shit. I'm just putting in so much work. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting the ego out of this, because then I end up playing these pugs and I lose to someone, or else someone will just shit on me. And I'm like, bro, why am I losing these games? I'm putting in so much work. This isn't fair. And then all of a sudden, like, because of that ego of me being like, oh, I put in all this work, I should be winning. I'm better than these people. It like, every time I would lose, it would trigger that unfairness. Like, it would be like, this game's not fair. And then that happens over and over and over again. You're gonna end up thinking this game's not fair, and that's gonna cause your burnout, because unfairness in the workplace causes burnout. But the weird part is that unfairness was all on my part. The people who were beating me deserved to beat me because they were doing smart things. Even if it appeared stupid, I had to be prepared for that. What I end up realizing is I gotta drop this fucking ego, and that even though I put all this work in, there's still more to learn. And that when people who seem stupid or do like dumb things and it works, it worked for a reason. And I should know how to counter that, you know, and not get my ego involved and be like, oh, that's not fair, I should be winning. If you had these problems, like, that's the two that connected with me the most when it came to my burnout, unfairness, and workload. But both of those were rooted deeper in insecurity and ego. So, I mean, once I figured that out, what was twisted in my brain, you know, this perception change. I had to sit with those thoughts for a bit. I changed my way of thinking when I play now. So like now when I play, you know, like I said, I don't take on as much work because I'm fine. I don't have to justify my existence by like being a workaholic anymore. And then on top of it too, when I play these pugs, I don't get pissed when people shit on me when they do stupid things. So I realize like, oh, you know, it's smart in a weird way, and you should learn from that. You know, I had to drop my ego. If I do experience this tilt and anger, because I was reading that book called The Art of Learning, you're supposed to actually use your emotions, right? You're supposed to use your emotions when you play as like a fuel. And so like when I get angry now, I just like I don't start trying to suppress it, and I don't just give up. I just use that anger. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just let this. I'm just gonna feel this. I'm gonna let it just drive my game. It's like the weirdest thing, but you have to like grab onto it and just like let yourself feel it. And be like, all right, you just killed me doing that stupid shit. You're not gonna get away with it again. And you just let that shit. You just feel it and just let it like burn as you play. Like I don't know, dude. Like it's something about just getting in touch with your emotions and like letting them just feel your gameplay and just feel them the whole time instead of just like either stuffing it down or ignoring it. But, like you want to use it as fuel. So like if you're feeling like confident, you know, make confident openers, confident plays, because you're gonna be able to play those to the best ability because your emotions are in line with it. If you're feeling laid back and chill, you know, do some like chill defaults where you're not being too aggressive, because you'll be able to play those to the best of their ability because your emotions are in line with it. If you're feeling chill and you do like aggressive shit, you're probably not going to play at the best of ability because you're not on the same page. So if you get on the same page with your emotions, that's how you can connect better and have like actually like tier 1 gameplay, dude, because most of it's mentality. Most of it is mentality. 90% of the game is mentality.